2023, the evening sky has a parade of bright planets, featuring Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury, and Mars. Venus passes Saturn and Jupiter after sunset, but it does not reach Mars. Chart caption: the chart shows the setting time intervals for the Moon, planets, and stars near the ecliptic for 2023. By Jeffrey L. Hunt. The chart above from U.S. Naval Observatory data shows the setting time intervals of the bright planets, Moon, and bright stars near the ecliptic compared to sunset. The 3 phases of twilight are included as well. The activity is for up to 5 hours after sunset in the western sky. The chart does not include the setting locations of the planets. The rising time intervals of Saturn and Jupiter compared to sunset are included as well. When one of them rises at sunset, it is at opposition. Conjunctions and near conjunctions of planets are included, as well as groupings of the Moon, planets, and bright stars. Chart caption: 2023, January 23, Venus, Saturn, and the crescent moon after sunset in the western sky. January. 4 bright planets are in the sky after sunset: Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars, although the red planet sets after 5 hours after sunset. These 4 planets are visible throughout the month. Around mid-month, the evening star sets after the end of evening twilight. This continues until early July. Venus passes 0.4 degrees from Saturn on the 22nd. 6 planets, including Uranus and Neptune, span about 74 degrees from Venus to Mars. The Moon joins Venus and Saturn on the next evening, 7.6 degrees from Venus. The Moon is 3.5 degrees from Jupiter on the 25th. Saturn sinks quickly and disappears into bright evening twilight near month's end. Chart caption: 2023, February 21, Venus, Jupiter, and the crescent moon after sundown. February. With 3 bright planets in the sky, Venus approaches Jupiter. Venus passes 0.6 degrees from Neptune on the 15th. A wide-field eyepiece is needed to see both in one telescopic field of view. On the 20th, Venus moves to within 10 degrees of Jupiter. The Moon is 6.5 degrees from the evening star on the next evening. The Moon makes a nice pairing with Jupiter, 1.3 degrees, on the 22nd. Chart caption: 2023, March 23, Venus, Jupiter, and the crescent moon after sundown. March. Venus passes 0.5 degrees from Jupiter on the 1st and stays within 10 degrees through the 11th. Mercury passes superior conjunction and quickly moves into the evening sky. The Moon passes 1.8 degrees from Jupiter on the 22nd and 5th. 9 degrees from Venus the next evening. Look for a pretty pairing of the Moon with the Pleiades on the 25th. Use a binocular to look for a Jupiter-Mercury conjunction, 1.3 degrees, on the 27th. Venus passes 1.2 degrees from Uranus on the 30th. Chart caption: 2023, April 10. Through a binocular, Venus is near the Pleiades star cluster. April. Mercury reaches its greatest elongation, 19.5 degrees, on the 11th. Even with a narrow elongation, the ecliptic is near its maximum inclination with the western horizon to give the planet its best evening appearance of the year. Venus moves from Aries into Taurus, passing Alcyone, Eta Tau, the brightest star in the Pleiades, on the 10th, then Aldebaran, 7.4 degrees, on the 19th. With the rich star field, choose your favorite stars and watch the planet pass them. Use a binocular to attempt to spot the crescent moon with Mercury on the 20th. The Moon groups with Venus, 5.6 degrees, on the 23rd. It passes Elnath, Beta Tau, on the 30th. Chart caption: 2023, May 7 to June 2. Venus moves through Gemini. May. During May 3 through May 5, Venus reaches its maximum setting interval, 223 minutes after sundown. Mars is plotted on the chart beginning early during the month, setting less than 5 hours after sundown. It passes Pollux, Beta Gem, on the 8th. Venus moves into Gemini, passing 1.7 degrees from Messier 35, M35, on the 9th. The Moon passes Venus on the 22nd. The next evening, Venus, Mars, Moon, and Pollux fit into a binocular's field of view. Venus passes Castor, Alpha Gem, on the 26th and Pollux on the 29th. Chart caption: 2023, June 21, Venus, Mars and the crescent moon fit into the same binocular field of view. June. Venus reaches its greatest elongation, 45.4 degrees, on the 4th. This is marked with GE on the Venus curve. With this, Venus' apparent pursuit of Mars begins to stall. At the beginning of the month, Venus' eastward motion is over 1 degree each night. This is slowed to 0.6 degrees per night at month's end. On the 13th, Venus passes 0.8 degrees from the Beehive star cluster. The Moon passes 4.6 degrees from Pollux on the 19th. 2 nights later, Venus, Mars, and the Moon fit into a 6.3 degrees circle. On the 22nd, the Moon makes a wide pass at Regulus, 5.7 degrees. 5 nights later, the Moon passes 3.0 degrees from Spica. Venus only closes to 3.6 degrees of Mars in a quasi-conjunction on the 30th. There is no Venus-Mars conjunction for this evening apparition of Venus. Chart caption, 2023, July 20th. From the sunset point, Mercury, Venus, Regulus, Moon, and Mars span 18.5 degrees. July. Venus sets earlier each evening, losing over 1 minute each night. Early in the month, Venus sets at the end of evening twilight and sets during twilight during the remainder of its apparition. Saturn is appearing in the eastern evening sky when Venus is lower in the west. Venus is at the midpoint of its period of greatest brightness, marked by GB on the chart, on the 8th. Venus only closes the gap to Regulus at 3.5 degrees on the 16th, a quasi-conjunction. Mercury begins a poor evening appearance, reaching its greatest elongation next month. With a binocular try for Mercury and the crescent moon on the 18th. Mercury, Moon, Venus, Regulus, and Leo span 19.5 degrees on the 19th. The next evening, they span 18.5 degrees, but the Moon is east of the planets and Regulus. On the 22nd, Venus begins to retrograde, moving quickly toward inferior conjunction and an appearance in the morning sky. The Moon passes Spica on the 24th. Jupiter rises less than 4 hours after sundown. Chart caption, 2023, August 24th, the Moon and Antares through a binocular. August. At the beginning of the month, Venus sets 17 minutes after sunset, quickly moving toward its inferior conjunction. The planet appears to be slipping into bright twilight, passing inferior conjunction between Earth and Sun on the 13th. Mercury reaches greatest elongation, 27.4 degrees, on the 10th. The separation is a favorable angle, but the ecliptic is poorly inclined with the western horizon. On the 18th, use a binocular to look for Mars and the crescent moon, 1.1 degrees apart. The red planet is immersed in bright evening twilight that continues through its solar conjunction during November. On the 24th, the Moon occults Antares during the evening. Saturn is at opposition with the Sun on August 27th. Chart caption, 2023, September 16th, Mars and the Moon during bright twilight through a binocular. September. Mars is the final bright planet in the western sky, but it is in bright evening twilight. Meanwhile, Saturn and Jupiter are in the eastern sky. Use a binocular to spot the Moon 1.9 degrees from Mars on the 16th. On the 20th and 21st, the Moon is near Antares. Chart caption, 2023, October 18th, the crescent moon is with Antares in the southwest after sundown. October. The western sky is largely quiet. Mars sets before civil twilight and it is lost in bright sunlight. The Moon passes 5.0 degrees from Antares on the 18th. Mercury is at superior conjunction on the 20th and begins its final evening apparition of the year. November. Jupiter and Saturn are east of the meridian during the early evening. Jupiter is at opposition and in the sky all night on the 2nd. At mid-month, the Moon moves through dimmer starfields near the ecliptic. Mars is at conjunction with the Sun on the 18th. Chart caption, 2023, December 14th, Mercury and the crescent moon are low in the southwest during bright evening twilight. December. Mercury reaches its greatest elongation, 21.3 degrees, on the 4th, setting 75 minutes after the Sun and shortly after nautical twilight. At 30 minutes after sunset, it is 6 degrees up in the southwest. On the 14th, the crescent moon is 11.1 degrees from Mercury. At month's end, Saturn begins setting less than 5 hours after sundown. The year's evening sky promises considerable activity during the first 3 quarters of the year. Venus passes planets, bright stars, and star clusters. It approaches Mars and Regulus, but there are no conjunctions. The Moon makes pretty groupings with planets and stars during the year, occulting Antares on the August 24th. During the final quarter, Mars passes behind the Sun and into the morning sky. During December, Mercury whips into the evening sky for a brief appearance with the Moon.